Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. FPL Consult here, and in today's video I'm going to share with you guys my latest Gameweek 8 wildcard draft. My wildcard has been active since the Gameweek 7 deadline passed. I've captured a couple of price rises for some of these players that we will discuss in a while. But yeah, in today's video I will share how my latest one looks like. If you guys enjoy it, please do drop a like, please do subscribe as well. And let's start off with the goalkeepers as well as the defenders. So in goal I've gone with Nick Pope. I think the biggest discussion point here is why not go for Raya like everyone else who wildcarded in Game Week 6 went. Now, Raya is currently at 5.7 million. I do think that is a little bit too expensive for a player that's either going to get 2 or 6 points, and he plays for a very strong Arsenal defense, and by nature of how Arsenal play, Raya does not make a lot of saves in every game, and that obviously kind of brings his points potential down to really, as we mentioned, a 2-pointer or a 6-pointer. So that's a little bit too expensive. I compare, if I pay 5.8, I get someone like Urian Timber, which we'll speak about later on. But I think that Timber just possesses so much more attacking threat combined with defensive contributions that he will get now and then, as well as the clean sheets. He feels like someone with a little bit more of a higher ceiling than someone like Raya, and is a little bit more worth the 5.8 that I'm paying. So that's the main reason why I've chosen to go Timber instead of Raya as the second Arsenal defensive asset, and therefore by nature of that fact I leave the goalkeeper spot open for Nick Pope. Now Nick Pope is pretty cheap at 5.1 million, so firstly already saves me money by going for him instead of David Raya, but secondly the Newcastle defense, as I mentioned in the earlier Game Week 8 wildcard video, is a defense to be reckoned with. The numbers they've been putting up this season is very, very good from a defensive standpoint, and even assets like Dan Burn, for example, should really be considered, but I'll speak about why I haven't gone with him. But I rate the Newcastle defense. Fixtures moving forward are also pretty alright, so I'm happy enough to go with Nick Pope, and I think he will pick up a couple of save points now and then as well, at least a little bit more potential to get those points as compared to David Raya. Now going into defense now, I have Timber, Chalobah as well as Gabriel, who's in my starting 11, and then I have Senesi and Rodon as the two other defenders on the bench. Now, speaking about the double Arsenal defense first, I mentioned already why I prefer Timber over Raya as the second Arsenal defensive asset, but I think just to mention as well, Timber is first choice over Ben White, but I do feel like there will be opportunities moving forward that Ben White may get to play in the Premier League instead of Timber if Champions League comes around and the turnaround is very tight. I think it's always something that does linger around, with someone like a pick like Timber. But I do feel like in and of himself, he's definitely first choice. If I feel like he will be rotated, or there are some predictions in the Arsenal community that Timber will be benched for certain games, I can always count on my fourth defender, and that's why I've ensured that my fourth defender, who is Senesi on the bench, is at least someone that I'm more than happy to come in for me in place of Timber if Timber misses out. So that's with Timber and Gabriel. I have Chalobah here. I still think that the Chelsea fixtures moving forward are really good. I'm not comfortable enough to go with Robert Sanchez as a defensive asset, but Trevor Chalobah here, he's someone that I think for sure I'm comfortable to have. Firstly, he's good for DEFCON. He helps me to cover the defensive good fixtures for Chelsea, and he does have a little bit of goal threat in himself as well. He has scored so far this season, and in terms of Chelsea's fixtures, I do want more than just an attacker. Later on, you'll see that I do have a Chelsea attacker in my team. But I do think that with how good the fixtures are, I'm happy enough to at least double up on them. So Chalobah is in here with that thinking. Senesi on the bench, as I've mentioned just now, I need a good fourth option. And I think from about game week 12 to 13, Bournemouth's fixtures actually start to look very, very good. I actually did not have Senesi in the draft for a while. I took him out because I think fixtures from game week 8 to game week 12 aren't the best. But after that, it looks very good. So I'm saving myself a transfer by having him already in here instead of going for someone like Dan Burn. Now, Dan Burn, the main reason why I haven't gone for him, even though I do think the Newcastle defense is really good, It's because I think over the longer term, I expect someone like a Chalaba or Senesi or rotation between the two of them to outscore Dan Burn, and also that I don't think it's absolutely necessary to double up on the Newcastle defense. I already have Nick Pope, who I'm likely going to play every single week, so I don't think a double up with Burn is necessary. And then last on the bench is Rodon, 4.0 million bench fodder from Leeds. Leeds fixtures are actually alright for the next few. He's very good for DEFCON as well, and he's someone that I think when I bench boost in game week 9, which currently is the plan, he will be playing West Ham, and West Ham do struggle a little bit from set pieces. Rodon, we know, is a very good header of the ball. He actually could have gotten a return against Spurs, but he hit the crossbar from a header. So honestly, I think Rodon, great for set pieces. His aerial threat is very good. Could get a goal against West Ham as well. So that's the thinking behind having him as my bench fodder. And then lastly, the player we haven't spoken about is Dubravka as the substitute keeper. Again, just the only 4.0 keeper that I'm confident will start every game moving forward. And he's also part of the bench boost plan in game week 9, where he will be playing Wolves. So I'm happy enough to just have him for that fixture. So that's the defenders as well as the goalkeepers here for this section. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And let's have a look at my midfielders. So in midfield, I've gone with what I think right now is the Game Week 8 wildcard template midfield, but I think it is template for a reason, and I'll discuss these players as we go along. So I have Ismail Assar, Bukayo Saka, Antoine Semenyo, and also Enzo Fernandez. And then first on the bench as my 5.0 million midfielder, it's Granit Xhaka. So I'll start with Bukayo Saka first. I do think like Saka taking the penalty this weekend that just passed against West Ham does not mean that he is on penalties all the way. I do think there will be some form of sharing going on between him and Gyökeres, but regardless, at least from open play, I'm more confident of Saka getting returns than I am of Gyökeres, and it's also because of the way that Arsenal have set up attackingly this season. Gyökeres feels to me like the player that is going to draw all the defenders to him, and that frees up space for the wingers, whether it's Trossard, whether it's Martinelli on the left, and then Saka on the right, to take advantage of the extra space and get returns. So firstly, from open play, I'm more happy to have Saka than Gyökeres. And then obviously the chance of penalties for Saka is very much still there. He could end up taking more penalties than Gyökeres by the time we get to the end of the season. We'll see. But I do think like overall, I prefer Saka over Gyökeres as a pick. So that's why he's in here, even though he does feel right now like a bit of a template pick. And then Semenyo is even more template. I don't have to speak about him. So Semenyo is in here. He's doing great, by the way. And yeah, he's risen, I think, about 0.4 since his starting price of 7.5 million already. So pretty crazy. And he continues to do very well for Bournemouth. Fixtures moving forward are still very good. So again, no reason to take him out. So it's Ismail Assar here that I think Crystal Palace do look very good in the attack. But right now, they're kind of not converting their chances. And I think a large portion of that comes down to Mateta missing a lot of the big chances. Ismail Assar could have picked up a couple of assists for Mateta over the weekend against Everton. And in and of himself as well, he did at least get one assist where he assisted Munoz. So I think Sa, for at least the price point that he's at, about 6.7 million, considering that Crystal Palace are still a very good attack, and I think moving forward, the fixtures are good enough that they will still perform. I'm happy enough to have him to cover the Crystal Palace attack. And then Enzo Fernandez, also at a rather similar price point of 6.7. I think people have fed back, at least to me, that Enzo Fernandez does feel a little bit pricey, and I can understand where that comes from. But I think right now, when you see my forward line, I really am only comfortable to have someone like Enzo Fernandez over someone like João Pedro. We'll speak about João Pedro later on, but I do think, like, in terms of Chelsea assets, given that they have very good fixtures moving forward, I want an attacker, and currently it feels as if Cole Palmer will be out for longer than we expect. I mean, there's clips circulating about how a Chelsea player was running into Cole Palmer at the end of the match and he immediately kind of held his groin injury. So I do feel like Cole Palmer will be out for a little bit more. That also means that Enzo Fernandez is going to play in the attacking midfield role for at least the foreseeable future. And I think because of that, then the goal threat that he possesses is at least good enough for me to justify 6.7 million. Also the fact that I think he's ahead of João Pedro on penalties. So Enzo Fernandez is, from now, in here. And I think likely going into the Gaming 8 deadline, he would still be here. If anything, then I would go for a triple up in Chalobah, Enzo Fernandez, and João Pedro. If not, I think going without João Pedro and having Chalobah and Enzo Fernandez is already good enough in terms of Chelsea assets. And then on the bench, Granit Xhaka here. I'll speak about a couple of variations later on towards the end of the video that I'm thinking about, whether I can do some form of combination transfers in this wildcard setup where I change to a 3-5-2 and my fifth midfielder, instead of going for Xhaka, can be more expensive. Could be someone like a Paqueta, where West Ham do have decent fixtures moving forward, and Paqueta is on penalties as well. So for now, Xhaka is in here. Also because I do think that his defensive contribution points are really quite consistent. He's put up very good numbers in the DEFCON aspect. And yeah, Sunderland as well. I mean, they play all right. And he could pop up with an assist here and there that we already saw this season. So Xhaka is in here. And he actually plays Chelsea in Game Week 9 when I bench boost. But he's the kind of player that because his defensive contributions is so high, I think the floor for him is quite high as well. So I don't think he will kind of blank against Chelsea. He could get DEFCON points, and that means maybe 4 points for him. So Xhaka's in here with that bit of thinking, but as I said, I will tinker around with the draft towards the end of the video to show you a combination where maybe Xhaka doesn't end up in my final draft. So before we jump into the forwards to end off this video, I want to speak a bit about our Telegram group chat. So for those of you who don't know yet, I actually created a completely free to join Telegram group chat sometime earlier this season. And the reason for this was because I did feel, I mean, yes, it's great to interact with you guys in the comments or even in the live chat during live streams, but there was no kind of platform to bring everyone together such that you guys could interact with each other. And I'm in the chat as well, and I'm also pretty active in there to just chat about FPL, share opinions, help each other out. I think I really wanted that kind of aspect for my community, and that's why I've kind of named the group chat the FPL Consult Community, where basically everyone in there helps each other out. If I'm unable to post a video, for example, I can just update you guys in this group chat as well. So I think the feedback so far has been great. More than 1,000 managers in there already, and everyone kind of enjoys it. So if you haven't done so already, all you have to do is scan the QR code or use the first link in the description, and you can join all of us in this group chat and play FPL together. So join if you haven't already, and let's wrap up this video with my forwards. So in the forward positions, I've opted to go for Voltemade, Haaland, and also Jarrod Bowen. Now, Haaland, I don't have to explain too much. He's very much a lock in this draft, especially with the form that he's in right now. But I think a couple of things that have been said about the forward positions right now is that there aren't a lot of good forward options to go for. I do tend to agree with that to a certain extent. I mean, you look at Gyökeres, who's not really firing at this point. I also look at picks like João Pedro, who has blanked for the past few games already and is just not looking like the form that he was in at the start of the season. So there is some consideration to be had to go for lesser forwards, maybe cheaper ones, and then spend more money in midfield or in defense, for example. I do think about that as well. But right now, where I'm at is that I do think, firstly, for Jarrod Bowen, that there is an opportunity right now for Game Week 8 wildcarders to hop on a little bit of a fixture swing for West Ham. And also, this comes at a very nice time because there will be some form of a new manager bounce. I do think that Jarrod Bowen here is quite a good differential. He's at 7.7 million. And I think Brentford is a great fixture for him at home. Moving forward, he will also have Leeds and Burnley in the next few games. I do think there is an opportunity here, and I tend to like to go for a couple of differentials in my Game Week 8 wildcard to differentiate a bit from the pack. And this is where I think I'm comfortable enough to have. So I doubt I will be taking Jarrod Bowen out of my draft. I do want to have that option for me. So I look at Voltemade here. Now, Newcastle's fixtures, at least from an attacking standpoint, is not exactly very, very good. That's one. But I do think that Voltemade is in pretty good form right now. He did take a penalty in Game Week 7, but I am not going to kid myself and say that Voltemade is on penalties right now for Newcastle, because we know that Gordon is first choice penalty taker. Who knows, moving forward, maybe because of how good Voltemade took that penalty in Game Week 7. I mean, it was at the top corner. He was looking at the keeper the whole way and he smashed it into the top corner. I think that was a great penalty. Maybe it could pave the way for him to continue being on penalties. I'm not sure. But at least for now, with the thinking that Gordon could still be first choice on penalties, then I think at least from open play then, that's where Voltemade would mostly get his goals. And I'm paying 7.2 million for him now, but I do think about making a couple of changes to this draft here. So let's have a look now at the fpl.team tinkering tool, and I want to speak through a couple of combinations of moves that I'm thinking about that could tweak my Game Week 8 wildcard to look slightly different from what it is right now. So this is my latest Game Week 8 wildcard draft on the fpl.team transfer planner, and I want to make a couple of changes to the draft to share with you guys what I'm thinking about in terms of my tinkering. So ignore the minus 0.1 million here because I've already moved early on these players and I can actually afford them. So exactly right now, how this draft looks like is what is in my actual FPL team. And let's say I don't want to go for Voltemade for reasons explained just now. I can actually go for Calvert-Lewin, and this is actually a player that I'm eyeing up simply because the fixtures are actually pretty good. Game Week 8, they play Burnley. Game Week 9, they play West Ham. This West Ham game is actually at home for Leeds, and Leeds have been playing very well at home. They are actually a force to be reckoned with. They drew against Bournemouth 2-2. Yes, they just lost to Spurs 2-1, but even in that game, they put up a lot of good chances, and Calvert-Lewin himself could have gotten a couple of returns there as well. He is a 90-minute man, and he's also on penalties as well. So I do like that about Calvert-Lewin, and there is some form of plans for my team to bench boost in Game Week 9, though right now, given that is the plan, I'm not 100% on it yet. But if I do so, then Calvert-Lewin against West Ham in Game Week 9 is a good enough fixture for me as well. This would leave me with some cash in the bank as you see here, and I can go from Granit Xhaka all the way up to Paqueta. So this is a move I'm considering. It works out okay in terms of bench boost in Game Week 9 as well because same in that fixture, West Ham will have Leeds, so there's every chance Paqueta could pick up DEFCON points, he could get a penalty as well, etc. I mean, you know what you get with Paqueta, and so that's for this combination of moves. If I don't go for Voltemade and I go for Calvert-Lewin, it allows me to go to Paqueta and change this draft into somewhat of a hybrid where most weeks I'll be playing either 3-4-3 or 3-5-2. Now, going forward, in terms of my other plans, let me reverse the transfers here. So I'll put Xhaka back and also Voltemade back in. So assume that I come back to this original draft. Another thing I'm thinking about is whether I should just kind of play safe a little bit. The fact that Chelsea's fixtures are so good, I could go for João Pedro, even though I'm less likely to do this. I think there is opportunity to go different here. But the fixtures genuinely are very good, and it makes me think as well, coupled with the fact that João Pedro is not going to be playing in the Champions League for the next few games because he's currently suspended. He picked up a red card in the last few minutes of Chelsea's last Champions League game. So that could be a rest for him midweek. He could maybe play a little bit more in the Premier League. Maybe you could see some 90 minutes for João Pedro. And against teams like, Sunderland, Wolves, Burnley, I could see him getting a return even though he's in really poor form right now. So it is something at the back of my mind, and I can make this move. I will just have to make a couple of transfers elsewhere to afford this, but I think it is something I am thinking about. It will need me to free up 0.6 million elsewhere, and I can try to find funds for this move, but Voltemade to João Pedro is something I'm thinking about. Now, if I reverse this move, I put Voltemade back. Let me just undo the transfer. I look at the Game Week 9 bench boost plan, and existingly now with Voltemade and Xhaka in here, I come to Game Week 9 and the team looks alright to bench boost, and this is why I think I'm quite keen on a bench boost in Game Week 9. Earlier in my kind of previous video, because I had more Crystal Palace players playing against Arsenal, I wasn't so keen, but now it's only Ismail Assar here and I'm okay to play him against Arsenal here. So the bench looks pretty good, right? It's Dubravka against Wolves, and then there's Xhaka here, who will be playing Chelsea. I do think that against Chelsea, he would pick up some DEFCON points, and then great fixture for Senesi here with Nottingham Forest. And last on the bench is Rodon against West Ham. And I did mention just now, I think Rodon could get a header against West Ham, for example, for set piece goals. So I do like the idea of a Game Week 9 bench boost, whether or not I go with Voltemade and Xhaka, or I switch it around and go for the Calvert-Lewin and also the Lucas Paqueta combination. So let me know which one you prefer. I'm okay with both. Currently, I'm quite on the fence as well. And I think just now when I mentioned João Pedro as well, that is probably the least likely combination that I would go for. Finding ways to put João Pedro in instead of Voltemata and kind of getting funds from elsewhere. I think what's more likely is I either go for Voltemata plus Xhaka or Calvert-Lewin and Lucas Paqueta. So let me know which one you prefer. And when I go back now to my Game Week 8 draft, which currently looks like this, let me know what you think of this draft in the comments down below as well, especially for those of you on a Game Week 8 wildcard. How different does your draft look from mine? And also, for those on a wildcard, feel free to drop your wildcard drafts in the Telegram group chat that I shared just now. You can join the group chat either by scanning the QR code that I showed or just the first link in the description. And I want to see as many drafts as you guys can put up as well, and I'll share my thoughts in there. If not, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please do drop a like. Please do subscribe as well. And I will catch you guys in more Game Week 8 content coming very, very soon. Bye-bye.